Rambam, Maimonides' teachings, when you can learning the laws of tsaras, translated as leprosy, but it's not really leprosy, modern day leprosy. It is a skin disease, and it's also something that on utensils that it can get this sort of disease. And guess what? Today we learn on how you can get this blemish on the house. Very intriguing. Okay, chapter 14. Houses with tsaras, blemishes, are deemed impure when the blemishes are the length of 2 grisim. And grisim is like the size of 2 dimes, right? That size. Thus, the width of the blemish is approximately the size of the place of 6 hairs grow on the body, and its length is about 12 hairs. It must be rectangular. Any blemish on a house smaller than this measure is pure. All the measures are halachas transmitted by Moshe at Sinai. In other words, it's not written in the Torah, this amount. It's transmitted that this is what the law is, right? Sometimes we have implied in a word what the measurement is, but often not. Okay, number 2. There are 3 distinguishing marks of impurity of tsaras on a house: an intense green, an intense red appearance, and the spreading of an affliction. These are all explicitly mentioned in the Torah. The 2 abnormal appearances can be combined with each other. In other words, if you have a spot on your bricks, right, that are intense green or intense red, and it's bigger than square of a rectangular of 2 dimes, right, then that would be considered tsaras. Got it? Okay. Huh?
I didn't know it could be red.
The verse says it. If the blemish spreads to a place immediately adjacent to it, even the slightest spread is considered a sign of impurity. So either the red itself, right? Or if there's a spreading of it, if it spreads to a distant place, a new blemish must be a gris. So let's say it was less than the 2 dimes, right? But then it spread. That itself is, even though it's less than the 2 dimes, the space of the 2 dimes, right? That's also considered a sign of impurity. But if it spread to a distant place, a new blemish, in other words, it needs to be gris. With the blemish returns after the house is plastered, it must be 2 gris. Okay. Blemishes on buildings do not impart impurity until the abnormal appearance is seen below the surface of the wall. In other words, it's not something that you just scratch off on the wall. It has to be below the surface. By the way, just I think at the end here, the Rambam will probably say, but we're not going to get there. This is all miraculously from heaven, right? Where do you get this on? And this is not a normal thing, right? It's a miraculous thing, a heavenly thing. Okay. So how do we know that that for it to be impure, it has to have an appearance below? Because the word says, and in the verse it says, the shikra not, meaning sunk in the walls. That's what the verse says in Vayikra and Leviticus. A blemish with either of these 2 appearances causes the building to be isolated or definitively deemed impure. If it increases in size, it should be torn down, and if it spread after it was replastered, the entire house must be torn down, as will be explained. So the difference, sometimes you have to take out the stone itself. Sometimes you have to take down the whole house because it is completely impure. And the elements and the things inside of it also become impure. Okay? Things inside of it need become purified, while sometimes the entire house needs to be torn down and rebuilt. Right? As we don't get the chance to learn it all, but these are all laws. These are all laws. That are come as a result of lashon hara, speaking ill. Yeah, yeah. That's why it's miraculous. So when someone speaks ill and they're going to get this kind of either on their skin, first that starts on the house, then on their clothing, and then on their skin. Yeah. 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 Number 4. She spoke against her brother, right? When a blemish appears on in a house, even a sage who knows it, it definitively a blemish should not definitively say a blemish appeared in my house. Instead, he should go tell a kohen. It appears that I have a blemish appeared in my house. The kohen will then issue an order to remove everything from the house. Why? Even bundles of wood and bundles of reeds. Afterwards, the priest will come and inspect the blemish. Because if the Torah says only he can do it because he's a man of kindness, and therefore he will be lenient in his perspective, but he will say what the law is, right? He needs to express it. But he'll tell him, remove everything, because once he pronounces that it's impure, everything in the house becomes impure. If everything's removed and he pronounces impure, then you saved everything in the house from becoming impure. So you remove everything. Okay. Today would be a lot because moving a house is, but back then they owned so little, you know. Number 5, we do not open the windows in a closed house to inspect its blemishes. Instead, if the blemish is not visible in its present state, it is pure. If the kohen will inspect a blemish, he should depart and stand at the entrance of his house near the lintel and either isolate deemed definitively impure or release the house from the inspection process. As it says in priest shall leave the house going to its entrance, and he shall isolate the house. He should not isolate a house while he is in it, or while he's in his own house, in a blemished house, or under its lintel. Instead, he should stand at the side of the entrance. If he stood under the lintel or went into his own house and isolated a house, it is isolated. And he shouldn't do it because then it becomes part of the impurity. Right? So he has to look, but then when he deems it, right, he makes a judgment, he should be outside of the house. Okay. Lintel is the door, the beam. Right. Okay. All right, folks, I would love to continue, but a reminder, tonight, 6:30 to 9:30, we have a Yom Kippur Symposium. Come and join us. Okay, we'll send you all the info. Did I send the info already? Did you see it or you didn't see it yet? No? I did send it?